So what the heck is GRC? And why does everyone on YouTube is talking about it like it's the secret sauce of cybersecurity? I used to be an IT auditor myself, and I've seen people throw the GRC buzzword in meetings just to sound impressive. But half of the room, sometimes they don't even know what it actually means. Today, we're going to be breaking it down and making it easy for you guys to understand. And by the end of the video, you'll be dropping your GRC buzzwords on purpose. My name is Josue, and I'm a cybersecurity professional and, being completely honest, a recovering auditor who is trying to explain this stuff without the fluff. On this channel, we try to talk about cybersecurity in a way that is useful, and whether you're trying to land a GRC job or you're trying to get into the cybersecurity field or blatantly just trying to survive your next audit, this is a place for you. Let's get into it. So what does GRC stands for? Governance, risk, and compliance. And I know it sounds boring, but it's actually how companies avoid lawsuits and breaches. And being completely honest, avoids that people go crazy because they don't know how to comply with a specific framework or specific regulatory body of work, right? And think about governance like it's all about policy. It's all about structure. It's all about the leadership and how they define the security decisions should be taken within the company. It's the blueprint. And think about the second word, risk. Think about what can go wrong. What's the impact? And think about risk like it's the drama of cybersecurity. If you don't manage it, it quickly becomes a Netflix documentary. And compliance is the fun police. These are the guys that keep the company alive. They make sure everyone is following the rules, and whether the rules come from any regulators or frameworks or even internal policies. But why does GRC matters in the cybersecurity context? Cybersecurity isn't just about configuring firewalls or threat hunt, which are pretty cool, but it's also about policies, structure, and making sure that people actually do the security stuff they should be doing, right? You can have the best endpoint tool in the world, but if nobody's reviewing the alerts or no one's updating the policies, that's not security. That's just hope, hope that nothing wrong goes eventually, in the future. So imagine a company that has, and this is the scenario, right? Imagine that you have a company where you only have MFA for C-suite people and you have over 500 people in the company. GRC comes in and they say, you know what, that's a risk. You should have an MFA policy. Let's go. Let's just implement that, and everyone should have MFA. So GRC just tells you what to do. It also helps you prove that you are doing it as well. And I'm going to give you a little context because here's where people get confused a little bit. So let's break it down. When I think about GRC, I have to explain the other teams within the playing field, right? So you have your cybersecurity guys, you have your IT operations people, you have your GRC folks, which are the ones that we're defining, and we also have the others, right? So when we talk about the cybersecurity folks, these are the guys that are protecting all the systems, all the data. You got to think about the controls, the technical controls, the alerts, the detections stuff. And when we define the second team, which is the IT ops, these are the guys that are keeping everything running, the servers, the users, the patching, the uptime, everything. And then you have your GRC folks, who are the guys that are making sure that policies exist and that risks are being tracked and the compliance aspect of the company is being also documented as well. And then the fourth team is the auditors. Whether these are internal or external auditors, these are the guys that test it all. They make sure that everyone else is doing their job, and they do it from an independent standpoint, right? Whether they are internal or external, that's the key. Going back to GRC, think about GRC as the project manager and policy master for the security team. And they don't configure anything. They don't configure the firewalls or anything, but they make sure that someone did, and they make sure that they did it properly, and they document it just to, they wrote it down. So in case that an audit comes in and they want to make sure that someone did it. So let's give you another example, right? So we can talk about rolling MFA, having the GRC folks saying, yes, we need MFA, and then security comes in and they enforce it to the systems, and then the IT folks configure it, and then GRC just keeps track of everything and monitor any exceptions and things like that. But think about another scenario where a vendor comes in. Think about vendor risk management. You have a vendor that wants access to your system. GRC tries to collect, or they collect the SOC 2 or SOC 1 report, essentially SOC 2 report, and check for any red flags. And then cybersecurity evaluates those risks and evaluate whether they have any the technical controls to make this happen. Just to avoid that we are not, letting anything slip under the rug, right? Because we want to keep our data and our users safe. And then GRC comes in and logs any risk and any mitigation efforts in a risk register. And that's another example. And maybe you're not too familiar with vendors, but also let me give you another example. Simple, like let's talk about passwords. Let's say that we need the new standard for a specific framework is to have 15 characters in length in terms of your passwords, right? And then GRC says that we should have 15 characters in length because they NIST said it, or PayPal said it, or whoever PCI said it, and now they have it. And then cybersecurity enforces it. The IT folks go in and configure all their systems, all the AD components, whatever system they have, to match that specific requirement. All passwords are now they're going to be 15 characters in length. And then again, GRC comes in and tracks everything and documents everything in case an IT auditor comes in. So you're gonna see the way all four teams are being involved, right? Like who enforces it and who says we should do this and who is configuring everything. That's how it typically goes, right? But going back to GRC, who works in GRC and why? What do they do? So people like me, people like you, if you've done an audit before, if you've talked about risk before, if you like spreadsheets, if you like Excel, you can definitely work in GRC. But typically some of the roles that you'll see within GRC are GRC analyst, risk analyst, IT governance specialist. Being completely honest, if you've ever been in an audit before, if you've read a specific framework, whether that's NIST or whatever framework you are familiar with, and let's put it this way, it's even more simple. If you've even had to explain that giving everyone admin privileges to everyone, it's a bad idea. If you've ever come to that specific scenario and you've had to explain that, you are definitely in the right way, in the right path to become a GRC analyst or to work in GRC. So now you know, GRC isn't just a boring acronym. You gotta be technical about it. You gotta be technical enough to have those conversations. And being completely honest, GRC is the engine behind every mature security program. You need all those four teams that we talk about, and you need those components in order to have a well-structured, a well-oiled machine to make it happen. Think about GRC, where cybersecurity, business, and compliance all shake hands, and where you'll often find the most underrated people keeping the company out of trouble, being completely honest. If this helped you, smash the like button, drop your GRC questions in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more real, relatable security content without the fluff. Until the next time, stay secure, stay curious, and see you on the next one. Peace.